should be rewarded by a man's success. I don't want me reaping the benefits of your success to have to come from me proving that I will struggle with you.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of men who like get it out the mud and have to grind to make things happen romanticize the struggle and the hustle in a way where it's like, I had this woman there by my side at my lowest and I love that.
I hate that. I don't romanticize those things either of like, oh, she was there when I was getting out the mud, you know what I mean? Or she's been there from the jump. Like, I don't romanticize that because I hate that you had to see a lot of that or that we went through a lot of that. Because I do think that it still has probably left scars.
So maybe, I don't know, maybe some scars aren't, bad things. When it comes down to building something together with your partner or with someone that's been there for you, that just, you can call it suffering, you call it struggle, but that builds a real tangible relationship. And, thankfully in this case, it's one of those things where it's really not up to the woman. If you're trying to reap the benefits of a man's success, then he's going to determine what those circumstances are. And for most men that have gotten out the mud, and and that's another phrase we can dissect in a bit. But men that have been first generation, right? We call it first generation successes, first generation millionaires, which the majority of millionaires get it out the mud. They're going to determine what value they see in you. And it's always easier. It's always easier when that person was with you during that building process. Not so much that a person had to suffer like you suffered, but maybe they were there to comfort you while you suffered and went through that process. But more and more, we're seeing people want to that axiom that's going around now. You want to show up at the finish line and then choose the winners. Okay, that's a strategy, and that's a tangible strategy you're allowed to have. But men are also the ones that ran that race, that ran that marathon, that sprinted or took their time building slowly. They have a say. So before we dissect this one even further, like, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you don't miss uploads. Still trying to do 2 a day. Trying to make it to the end of August. Sorry, not August, October. It's been a very, very long day, so just bear with me.
I don't think that women struggling should be rewarded by a man's success. I don't want.
So when we look at this, a woman's struggle shouldn't be rewarded by a man's success. And I think this is sort of like almost like it's backwards or it's misconstrued here. It's we're struggling, right? We're struggling in this together. It's a difference where it's not as if you were being put through some sort of crucible on your own to determine your value or your worthiness of success later. In fact, part of that struggle process is learning to lean on each other. That's what brings you closer, that you guys are suffering under the same sun. When you take that part of the equation out, yeah, that doesn't mean that there can't be connection there, but it's like that old best friend from way back from elementary school that they've been close forever. You're always going to feel like you're on the outside of that. Again, genderless. It's hard for you to go in and say, I want to mean the same thing to you as that person does. It's apples and oranges. You're still important to me. I still love you. But the things that we had to struggle through bonded us for life, bonded us for forever. We can't remove that. We can't take that away, nor we would ever want to. So when you want to sort of erase this part or skip this part, you're well intentioned, you're well met, you can absolutely. You can choose the winners the at the finish line. But now there's there's less obligation, right? There's the less of that obligatory feeling from the man to the woman versus, someone that helped him get that. Say, in the sense of you helped you build a company, you guys built a company together. That ties you together. When you just sort of show up at the end and say, hey, I want to reap the benefits of the company that you painstakingly built. Yeah, maybe, but you'll always sort of be on the out, right? There'll always be a layer that you can't penetrate, something that always keeps you at maybe arm's distance or a football field's distance. And it just comes down to, hey, you weren't, you weren't shooting with me in the gym. You just don't get to come in and dictate and benefit to your heart's content. You get to benefit with whatever he wants to show you, whatever he wants to allow, whatever he wants to give. what you're allotted. There's no demands made of that. It's very different when you were there in the beginning and you built it with them. Yes, that's when you took responsibility in the building of this thing. That's when you can actually make demands that make sense, that someone's going to say, "Oh yes, you know what you say. You have that right. You deserve that because you built it with me."
Me reaping the benefits of your success to have to come from me proving that I will struggle with you.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of men who like get it out the mud and have to grind to make things happen romanticize the struggle and the hustle in a way where it's like, I had this woman there by my side at my lowest and I love that.
I hate that.
For a lot of guys, excluding this one, right? We love that. We absolutely love that you were there with us, that you were there through thick and thin. There's no better proving ground than something like that. That having to, fight against the naysayers, fight against the self doubt that creeps in, the insecurity, and say we're going to build this thing together. The times when you're weaker and they're stronger, and vice versa. Those are the things that romanticize. We say often there's beauty in the struggle, and sometimes we confuse something like this with struggle love. This is not struggle love. This is just simply adversity that you both went through. You overcame together to come out to the other side, and intrinsically that draws you closer together. Again, you can skip that, right? You can choose who you want at the end. But as someone that, okay, and we can revisit this, I'm not a fan of the get it out the mud in my scenario, in my circumstance, because, and this is not saying that men or women don't get it out the mud. I just benefited from having a great, set of parents who taught me values, and maybe you couldn't have passed on monetary, any type of fiscal things, but the lessons I got. So I never feel like I got it out the mud. I always felt like it was a team thing, and I wouldn't be where I am today without their lessons. So putting that aside, just a little, relate to me a little bit more. But when you get it out the mud with someone, it bonds you. It absolutely bonds you. And that's kind of what you're looking for in relationships, rather than you show up and I kind of like the way you look. I kind of like your vibe. But if we never have anything more than that, then it feels like everything starts at the surface layer. And that's why you date for X amount of time before you get to know more and more about that person. So you build that layer of confidence and trust that that person is going to be there through thick and thin, for better or worse. But if you're saying that, I don't want to have to suffer with you. I don't want to have to get it out the mud with you. It's almost as if you don't understand that even though we're up right now, that can change. And when that changes, we may have to grind it out to get it out the mud. And if you're not willing to do that, then you're just here for the good times. And yeah, some men are fine with that. Right? Some men are fine with that. Other men are fine playing with you while you're thinking like that and using you and having their fun and feeling absolutely guilt free, guiltless for doing that, because they recognize, yeah, you're not someone that I could seriously build this thing out with. If you weren't there with me when I built it, when I struggled, when it took me whatever, how many years, how many sacrifices to do so, why do you get to tell me what to do or how to spend the proceeds, the gains from any of this? Why do you have a say? If I decide or say, "Hey, okay, I'm willing to do this, we can go on this vacation, I'll buy you this, I'll do this, I'll make your life easier," that's all because I feel like it. And there's no obligation for me to continue that once everything runs its course, because you just weren't that important to the building of this thing. So again, we're not here to tell women what to do. We're not here to tell men what to do either. But to show like, if we think about this with a little more nuance, we can see why, talk like this sometimes gets you farther from the goal, than you actually want. If you think I missed something, let me know in the comments. If you see videos on your screen, go ahead and take a look. Click on those. Let me know what you think about those as well. I'll see you in the next one.